Escape to Gaming. Today I want to discuss collecting. Some people get it, some don't. I've been married 20 years now, and my own wife doesn't fully understand my obsession with collecting. She goes, well, you know, I was looking at a film just recently. In fact, it should be here in the mail either today or tomorrow. I have The Sorcerer from William Friedkin. It's a movie that's on DVD. Now, I had a hard time finding this originally. It's in pan and scan. It's not in widescreen. And I have never seen this. I missed this in 1977. It came out within about a week of when Star Wars came out, and I was going to see Star Wars repeatedly, as many other people were as well. And so this movie was short-lived at the theater, and I missed out on it. So I have never in my life seen this, and I had this on VHS, and since then I finally found it on DVD several years ago and bought it, and I was thankful to even have this. And it's a fantastic movie. It's in my top 10 films of all time. Now, there's a brand new remastered Blu-ray in letterbox format, widescreen, that the director, William Friedkin, had lovingly gone through and remastered. He went through every frame, cleaned it up, adjusted the color, and he's very proud of it. Now the film is actually being shown in theaters for the first time in many, many years, because it got lost between a couple studios. And so my wife didn't understand. She goes, we've seen that movie. Why are you ordering it again? Because I had my wife order everything on eBay for me, or Amazon. And I said, because I've never seen it in letterbox, and this is one of my favorite films, and I want to have it in my collection. So there's a digibook. In fact, I just recently got this Blade Runner special edition. Now, I already had this on DVD in a 4-disc set with all the same hours and hours of behind-the-scenes extras, so why buy it again? Well, because I want it in the best quality possible to preserve my memories of seeing this in the theater. I saw this in the theater, like, God, 5 or 6 times, multiple times, and I just couldn't get enough of it. It's also in my top 10 movies of all times list. So, I mean, I could just collect just some of my top favorite films. And the same thing with video games. And there's so many great games. You know, Here We Are Rage is one of my favorites. Or Fallout 3, which I've never played other than just a couple hours at the beginning of it, years ago. But it's nice that I can go back and enjoy these classics anytime I want, because I have them in a physical collection. You know, I'm bringing this rant up because there's been a lot of talk lately about all these new games coming out at E3. There's a great new Need for Speed game that graphically looks very impressive, but it's a server-based game. And I've done several rants on this. A lot of my friends kind of know how I feel about this new trend of server-based games. You're basically running the game. It's like a big lighter. I mean, it's like here today and gone tomorrow. You use it up, you throw it away, and who cares? You just buy another one. You buy the next lighter. Maybe the next one will be white or black or orange. And it's the same thing with gaming for me, personally. Now, what's ironic is just, 2009 and 10, I bought my Xbox 360 just to play this Wolfenstein game, which is a sequel. Some will debate whether it's a reboot or a sequel. And I love this game, and of all the games I bought for my Xbox 360 I didn't buy one until late 2009 of August when this came out. So I would play this game and other games, and for some reason I hung on to this one. I wouldn't trade it in, but the other games I'd play, like Bulletstorm or something, play it all the way through, and just take it back to GameStop, trade it in for another one. And I get a little bit of value, not as much. Maybe they give me $10 in trade or $20 or whatever. And I just get the next thing, because I was on to the next thing. I was excited about playing this new Xbox 360 games. It looked so good. But for some reason, I wouldn't let go of this one. And I wouldn't even let go of my old Xbox game from, the mid-2000s of Manhunt. Now, I had donated to Classic Game Room back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with Mark Bussler. I gave him my PS2 original copy of Manhunt, which some people from CGR Undertow had gone and reviewed that, along with I think 10 or 12 other games that I had donated. But for some reason, I hung on to my favorite copy of it, which was the Xbox copy. The graphics look a little bit better. So for some reason, I kept hanging on to certain games, even though I didn't even have an original Xbox anymore. This doesn't play too well on the 360. You lose the what's his name, Brian Cox, who did the wonderful voice of the director that's in this story, you lose all of his voice. Now you can set the subtitles to where you can at least see what he's saying, but for me, the backwards compatibility issue hasn't worked out real well. And that's another reason why I brought this up, because there's been so much talk lately about backwards compatibility of the new Xbox One. Oh, it'll be great, we can play these old games on it, but let's see if they'll have my Wolfenstein game. And will it play properly? Will there be some weird glitches or bugs in it? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe Microsoft will work out the bugs. I'm not sure. But some of these issues, talking about, and this morning I watched a great thing from Polygon on Twitter, had a thing on watch 5 minutes of No Man's Sky. You can see it with no voiceovers, anything, just pure gameplay, and hear the sights and sounds, and it looks gorgeous. I love the art direction and art style of the game. But I can't even warm up to the idea of buying it, spending $60 on it, because it's another Bic lighter. It'll be popular for a year and a half, 2 years, until people are bored with it. And then what? They're going to shut down the servers, and that studio will be on, and they want to sell you the next new game and the next one. So collecting it, like collecting an old Sega Genesis game, is not going to be as popular anymore. I think that we're living in an age of just like paper towel disposable, cars are disposable, glassware, plates, plastic cups. I mean, we're just in this kind of a disposable era. My nephew's got these little iPhones that's got, over 8,000 songs on it. I still prefer, the record albums or the CDs. Now, I sadly gave away, and I mean gave away, a huge collection of vinyl records, because once CDs came out, I'm like, who wants to hear the pops and skips and scratches on a record album? Every time you play it, it wears, the needle wears more and more on it, and it disintegrates slowly over time. Each time you play it, I swear it sounds worse. You hear more pops, more scratches, dust particles, and I was very careful not to put my fingerprints on them. I used a little felt cloth and dusted them off. But once CDs came out, I saw the logic, and I said, you're getting a much clearer, better sound. Initially, you had the analog CDs, and later they've got a lot of these remasters that are digitally done, and they sound amazing, and I love them. And I still like collecting CDs today. I've got a huge collection of them because I like the liner notes, and I like to see the artwork. That's what I do miss about collecting records, is that you could have those jackets. And oftentimes, myself and many of my friends, we take our favorite record album jackets with thumbtacks, including the soundtrack for the original Star Wars, and I'd thumbtack it to the wall just to see the artwork. It was a wonderful time growing up in the 70s with our favorite movie posters and record albums and our record jackets that we'd look at. And I think that part of my love for collecting comes from my fond memories of looking back at things. Now, strangely with films, I've been collecting movies for years. I mean, here you can't even get this on DVD or on Blu-ray. This is a very rare Michael Mann movie. It's a strange film. It was radically hacked up and cut down to almost half the length of what it was originally shot. There's hours, over 3 hours of footage that Michael Mann shot of this, but the studio arbitrarily hacked out 90 minutes of it or whatever, and it was cut down to what it is now. And thank God, at least we have this. This is a fantastic film, very rare. I paid close to $100 for this used VHS rental tape, and it's an excellent quality, and it looks great. Sadly, it's in pan and scan. It's not in widescreen. So many of us are hoping that someday Criterion or someone will make a remastered version of this, maybe even a director's cut, the way Michael Mann intended the film to be seen. This was on Netflix, instant Netflix, for a while. I don't know if it still is, and even then it was in pan and scan, and it wasn't in widescreen. Now, I just recently watched both seasons of Twin Peaks. I watched 1 and 2. Now, I have all these. Out of convenience in my bedroom, I sat up late at night when I couldn't sleep, and I was watching a couple of these per night on Netflix, and it's nice. I like the instant streaming of Netflix, but there's something about having the physical copies. Even the Blu-rays don't have all the myriad of behind-the-scenes interviews and documentaries and things that these have, especially in season 2. There's quite a bit of content in this, so I still like collecting DVDs and Blu-rays because it's nice to have everything. You're preserving the legacy of your memories. You can think fondly back to, God, I haven't seen a Blade Runner in years. I really miss it. And just knowing that this is on the shelf and that I can take it out and watch any version I want. I can watch the original version before they changed some of the CGI and added a few CGI effects, which was also in the final cut. Or I can watch the final cut and see a wonderful 8K transfer of an incredible film. It's impressive, especially on my new 4K TV. It looks amazing. I've really enjoyed watching this for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years recently, and I watched the final cut. I had this on DVD and had never even seen the final cut until just recently when I got the Blu-ray of it. And it's great to have these memories. Now, I had the French Connection special edition on DVD years ago. Now, I haven't upgraded this. Another wonderful, Academy Award-winning picture from the wonderful director William Friedkin, who's one of my favorite movie directors. This particular version came in a box set with the French Connection 1 and 2. But even this has not one but 2 commentaries, one with the director William Friedkin, another one with the actors Roy Scheider and Gene Hackman. There's a couple documentaries that are quite lengthy and very fascinating. And it's great to preserve the memories of not only the films themselves, but how they were made and what the director had intended and the challenges they had in making the films. This is what I find is fascinating with collecting physical copies of movies, music, and especially games. I love games. I've been playing when I became very ill just a couple months ago, and thank God for these old games. I've been playing Max Payne 2. Now I have this off Xbox Live Arcade, and I was actually playing that version just out of convenience. But I have 3 original working Xboxes, and it's nice to see that this looks and plays wonderful on my original Xbox, which I usually play at my desk. I have it over by my desk. I've got an original Xbox permanently set up there, and when I want to play original Xbox games, I have an older LCD flat screen, and I have it, fine-tuned to correlate perfectly with these older Xbox games, and it looks amazing. I just recently got Star Wars Battlefront 2. I was so excited about finally finding this complete with the booklet. I probably won't even need the booklet, but it's nice to have the booklet in here. It's just wonderful to have and look at this and remember how much fun I had playing this years ago on my original Xbox. I never should have got rid of it. So with movies, for some reason, I couldn't throw films away. I've been saving these films. Now, I have the Big Chill I bought recently on Blu-ray, another 4K remastered, wonderful Lawrence Kasdan movie. It's a fantastic film. I had this rare. I had bought the movie, then I rebought it on widescreen VHS, and I never did buy it on DVD, but I just recently found a wonderful copy where it actually includes the DVD of it as well as wonderful, commentaries, behind the scenes, everything in here. It's a fantastic film. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and it's nice to have a couple different variations of it for my collection. I'm collecting this stuff for posterity, and I think the older you get, the more you tend to look back on things, and you'll remember. You'll be talking with a friend or something, and God, remember that old movie? And when it comes to films, I've got close to 5,000 movies in my physical library of VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray films. And then, of course, TV shows like the wonderful Star Trek, which I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite prized possessions. And I'll probably have to upgrade this to Blu-ray. I mean, I've got these are the HD variations, that DVD on one side and HD DVD on the other side. But they still look amazing compared to the grainy old TV. We had like 5 TV stations. It's fascinating. I think what got me into film early on is that I remember a time where you couldn't collect these. There was no home video. I mean, you had to go down to your public library, and they might have 5 films on reels. I think they had Citizen Kane, Gone with the Wind, and a few. And a friend of mine, his dad had a projector. We would go down to the from Fresno, California, the public library, and we'd rent films like Citizen Kane. Oftentimes there'd be a whole reel missing, or they were just filthy and scratched and torn. They had been spliced multiple times. There's whole pieces that were missing out of them. But you were just so enthralled to even rent It was such a process. It was work just to get through all the reels of a movie. So by the time that VHS came out, I was ready. Of course, they were very expensive, $1,250, for your average VCR. And I remember saving up, and I paid for an NEC one, $1,250 for one of the, I forget what year in the 80s it was, but I had an RCA one initially, much cheaper, and even the cheap ones were like $600, $700 that I would pay for some of those early VCRs, and later I ended up for a really nice NEC one. It was like, God, $1,250. But I remember I had a friend at work. I worked at a silkscreen place where we made some t-shirts and decals and what have you. And a friend of mine was one of the salesmen there. He was quite a bit older and had a nice apartment and cars and was single, but he loved film like I did. Well, I didn't know. He said, "Oh, I've got a VCR at home." I go, "You're kidding, really? You've got one?" I mean, it was like everyone knew someone that had a VCR, but they were very expensive. And very few people were quick to jump on it. In the beginning, there weren't even rental stores. So you had a hard time. And in fact, I had an RCA video disc set up. And I could only afford just like 2 or 3 movies. They were $60 to $90 per video disc. And even those were prone to dust and scratches, kind of like a record album. And so it was it prohibited you from buying them. And then eventually there were rental stores where they rented video discs and VHS tapes. And even back in the early parts of like 82 and 83, they were over $5 an evening to rent a videotape. That's a lot of money. I mean, when Blockbuster closed, you could rent them much cheaper than that. So it was very expensive. It'd be like paying close to $20 just to rent, to watch a videotape that you don't even own. So I remember a time where home video was not there. This friend of mine, Bill, at work, he had a home library of, I think, close to, maybe I'd say 120 movies that he had. He had taped them off from television, and some of them, I think he had somehow 2 VCRs, and he'd rent tapes and make a copy off a tape somehow. I don't know how he did it. In the early days before they had the copy guard process, you could do that. Then later they created a copy guard to where it was impossible to make tapes off from tapes. It was difficult. But I remember that he would loan out his VCR for a weekend. And I remember waiting on a waiting list. I had to wait like 3 weeks, and finally it was my turn. In fact, it was the day that John Belushi died. Was the day that I borrowed. Finally, it was my turn to borrow his big, giant, heavy, 80-pound VCR and take it home. I remember taking it home to my dad's TV back in, 1980, whenever it was, and I hooked it all up. And I said, "Man, we're going to watch videos tonight." And he had a copy of the Blues Brothers that I think it was like a homemade videotape. And I remember watching the Blues Brothers in my own home before home video, before I could even afford one, thanks to my friend Bill and his VCR. And it was ironic that it was on the very day that John Belushi died. That evening, I was, thankfully got to watch the Blues Brothers. And it was such a powerful thing at the time to be able to do all your favorite movies that before you couldn't watch. You'd see them one time at the theater like Jaws, and then you'd have to wait years, and then maybe it would be on ABC Night at the Movies. They would have Jaws. Of course, they'd take out the gore and the swearing, the pot smoking, whatever, but you could at least see the film, and you were just happy to see that. So you take a 2.35 to 1 ratio widescreen, chop it down to a 4.3 pan and scan format, and then they hack up the language and parts, but you were just so thrilled that, oh, my favorite movie's coming on tonight, I can't wait. So you'd wait years to watch a movie like The French Connection or The 7-Ups by Phil Antonio, which was done after The French Connection. 2 of my favorite movies. I remember watching both of those on TV long before home video. So by the time videotapes came out, I was on board. I said, "Man, this is wonderful. You can actually buy a movie and have it in your collection." So it's not just something that's in your memory anymore. Now you can physically go and pull it out, put it into a machine, and watch it on your TV in your living room. So today, by comparison, we're spoiled. We have access via our computers and the new smart TVs with the advent of streaming, of having any movie we want. We can have any film we want, any time we want, TV show, most of them in HD, and it's streamed instantly to your bedroom or your TV or what have you, and that's a wonderful thing. But I still like having the physical copies. The same thing with games. It's just great that I can play. I have never played this Deus Ex Human Revolutions. I have two versions. I have a new remastered director's cut of this or whatever. That's for the Xbox 360. And I also have this original augmented edition, which came with a nice art book and everything. And I bought these because I know that I will enjoy the Blade Runner influence and vibe that's in this. And it's just, eventually I said, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to savor this game, whether I savor this version or the other version, which for some reason can't be installed on your Xbox 360 hard drive. This one you can install, but the later director's version with the remastered boss fights and improved graphics, you can't. I don't understand that, but either way, it's wonderful to have these memories of games that I've either played or have wanted to play, and whether I play them this year or next year or 5 years from now, I have them to play. I'm glad that they made the Wolfenstein The New Order in a physical disc, so I have this for all time. And I have this in my hard drive, and I'll never take it out. I also have the New Blood DLC, which I've got on my hard drive, which I think this month or next month, I think it's next month, they'll be coming out with a physical version of the New Blood, as well as the new Zombie Army trilogy from, I believe, Rebellion, which I both of these DLC type games I have installed off a digital download on the PlayStation Network, but it's going to be even better to physically have them in my collection to play for years and years. That's what's exciting about gaming and movies today, is that as a collector, you can collect. Now, I don't just collect for the sake of collecting. I don't just buy, go to yard sales and just buy DVDs to buy DVDs. I only buy the movies that I have seen at least once, and can see myself realistically watching again, whether it's a year from now or 10 years from now. That's why I collect my Blu-rays. I'm being a little bit more careful. I can't go nuts and rebuy close to 5,000 movies all over again. I've rebought so many times, but it's nice to have Blu-rays, like the Blade Runner, or I have the Alien trilogy I've got over here. Or anthology with the 4 movies, and I've got the Close Encounters with the different variations in a nice box set, and Michael Mann's Heat movie, and The Town, and other great classic films that I love, whether they're new or contemporary or they're old classics. And it's just great to have these memories to hang on to for years to come, that I can watch when I choose, anytime I want. To me, that's what it's all about. I don't understand people having an aversion to collecting. I don't think that, like I said, I don't collect like, I have a friend that's, I have every N64 game ever made, in his collection. And it looks nice. It looks nice to see a complete collection on a shelf, but realistically, you're going to even play all of those. Do you even like all of those games? So it depends, I guess, your reasoning for collecting. You can leave in the comments down below, what is your criteria for collecting games, or movies, or TV shows? Is it because they're your favorites? Is it to hang on to something that you remember watching on TV when it was new, or a wonderful epic film that you actually saw at the theater, with your dad as a kid? We all have a criteria for collecting. For me, it's probably looking and seeing things as an older person. It wasn't really the gaming. I really hadn't collected too much. I had saved a few games, like I had mentioned, but it wasn't until about 2011 that I started saying, you know what? God, I kind of miss all those games I donated to Classic Game Room. I recently bought, The Godfather, the version for the Xbox 360, because I loved that game on my original Xbox and put so many, probably 70 hours or more into that game. A wonderful open world game based on the wonderful Godfather movie. And I had such great memories playing that game. And who knows, I don't have the original Xbox version, but it's nice enough to even have the Xbox 360 version. It's still very close to the original, just improved fire effects and lighting and graphics. But it's something that is special about saving and savoring these old games and memories so that we can relive them again. Now, I haven't done that with a Commodore 64 because of the frailty of the old floppy disk and the equipment itself. Even though I have the fondest of memories in 86 and 87 of playing those old Commodore 64 games, I just haven't been compelled to really buy the systems and then hope that they work, roll the dice, and hope the thing works when hooked up to an analog TV. Some of the floppy disks, are problems. And I know I have friends, oh, dude, you can emulate all those games now. I don't understand the whole emulation thing, how it works, how they get the ROMs or whatever off the internet. I really don't understand. It's all Greek to me. And it's a little bit, it's just hard for me to get. But I do like having these old Sega Genesis games. It's great that you can still have these. And I've got 2 working Sega Genesis that I can play these old games anytime I want. And they still look and play great. And that's why I have a backup analog TV as well. In case one takes a dump 5 years from now, I have another one. My wife is like, why have 2 analog TVs? I said, one's a backup. She doesn't understand, and a lot of people, even gamers today, they just don't get why they collect these things. Dude, you can play those games. They have them on the PlayStation Network. I mean, you can get Jet Moto. I think you can still buy this for the PlayStation, for the PS3, and play it off the PSN network, the PlayStation Network. And I'm sure it looks and plays fine on the PlayStation 3. But there's something about having the physical disc, which I can play on one of my PS1s, or I can even play it on my new slim PS2. It looks and plays great. It's exciting to collect these memories. I remember the week this came out and how mesmerized I was playing this, and the Dick Dale type surf music. And just the memories of being in 96, I think is when I played it, sitting on my couch in Lake Forest, California, down in Orange County, with my wife. We were only married about a year at the time, and I have wonderful memories around this game. So when I saw this on the shelf at my local used game store, it just brought back a flood of memories. Now, I didn't have this Greatest Hits edition, and I could be fanatical. Oh, I don't like these greatest hits. I want to have the original black case PlayStation. I have some of those. I mean, I've got the original Twisted Metal. And this is not my original copy that I bought in '95 when I bought the first PS1 at launch, but this is a wonderful, very clean, all original copy that I found, all complete with the phone. So when I open this up and I see this, I remember the night that I went to the Orange Mall in Orange, California, and went to Electronics Boutique, and I bought my first PS1 for $729 with an extra controller, memory card, and 3 or 4 games. And I will never forget that. I'll never forget the hour that I sat with the 3DO versions of many of these PS1 games, trying to decide, because I was saving and I had the money for the 3DO from Panasonic, but man, Panasonic doesn't have Twisted Metal. And I read the back of this with you are what you drive and the car combat, and I said, I gotta get this. I gotta get the PS1. This is why I bought the PlayStation 1. It was because of this. So when I see this on my shelf, it's not just the game. Even if I never play this game again, it reminds me of my love for gaming. It reminds me of my love and how impressed I was when I had a Super NES at the time and then bought my PS1. I remember giving the Super NES and all my 30-inch stack of games to my nephew. So here, dude, enjoy. I've got this now. And he was happy to have his Super NES games, which he had for about a year before he finally got his first PS1 when his dad bought him. But it's wonderful to see these games on the shelf and to have the fond memories of playing this at a friend's house and playing this at the launch of the PlayStation 1 in 1995 or whatever. I'll never forget those memories. And this is why I collect. Like I said, I just got this movie, The Sorcerer, which I had on VHS, and then I eventually got this, and I could just enjoy this. But why spend $25 for a new remastered Blu-ray? Because I want the best. In fact, yesterday was the it's been I think close to 40 years. It came out in '77, or it's like 38 years or whatever since this movie came out. And yesterday, like 38 years ago to the day, this was at the theater. So someone posted something about this on Twitter or Facebook recently, that the anniversary of this is coming up. And then I found out that William Friedkin had fought for the rights and went through a lot of hell. He personally wanted this remastered, as it was one of his favorite movies. And there's just something about having the ultimate version of it, where it's in pristine, 1080p resolution, and all remastered, color corrected. It's the perfect version of the film that was meant to be seen. And even William Friedkin has embraced the new technology, and thank God for it, because these films, the original prints are washed out, the silver deteriorates on the film, and if they're not restored digitally, we will lose these memories forever. And I'm afraid we're going to lose the memories of these games in the same fashion. If we don't stop looking at gaming as just being a flash in the pan and something that's here today, gone tomorrow, I'm not interested, like I've stated before, in the new Need for Speed game coming out, as it's a server-based only game. What if I like it? What if I have fond memories playing that, and then I want to revisit those memories 2 or 3 years down the road after the servers are shut down? The game is no good. The game is no good, and you might as well just throw the physical game away, because it's not going to matter. So that's why I'm going to be buying by the end of the year another backup Xbox 360, just with a bigger hard drive, just to keep the dream of playing these games alive, so I can play Fallout 3 from beginning to end and maybe put 100 hours into it, like some of my friends have. You know, I enjoy watching their gameplay videos and their retro reviews of these classics. And that's what keeps gaming alive. The YouTube perpetuates it as the excitement and from my friends that have these wonderful games. And I mean, I love to see pickup videos. I love to see these old retro reviews, or new reviews of old retro games. And that all helps perpetuate it. But there's something to be said for actually having the physical game. And you can read the back of the box, or you can open it up and look at a booklet and see the wonderful artwork we have and the ads for the other games. Here's a game for, Vice City for the Xbox collection. It's just wonderful. It's like a time capsule just to even pull this off the shelf and to look through these booklets and see these games. To me, that's what collecting is all about. Some people don't get it. I think some get it, some don't. A lot of people think that I'm overblown with my fears or reservations about this new trend in gaming with the server-based games like The Division, or the new Rainbow Six game that's going to, or the Need for Speed game, or the game like The Crew or Drive Club and all this stuff. I don't care. They're hollow, here today, gone tomorrow, Bic lighters is what they are. And you use it up until there's nothing left in it, and what's left is that the popularity. Once the popularity is gone, I guess we throw it away. But what happens later when you're older and you go, God, remember that Need for Speed game? Oh yeah, the one that came out in 2015. Yeah, that had great graphics. It's a shame we can't play it anymore, but yet I can still play this from the early 90s. It's amazing to me that you can build something, a legacy of gaming and movies and music, that you can't do via streaming. It's just not the same thing. That's my take on it anyway. I would love to hear from you in the comments how you feel about collecting. What is your criteria for collecting? Is it to collect all of a particular type of game? Is it to collect certain genres, or do you like to have an entire collection of every N64 game? I got a friend of mine that's trying to collect all of every Wii U game ever made. I mean, if that's what excites you about collecting, is to have a holistic collection of every game that comes out on a console, knock yourselves out. Whatever is your criteria, I like to hear it. I'm always fascinated to see. And many of us, even though I have other friends that love collecting games too, but they only collect the older retro games from the Super NES or the Genesis. They could care less about collecting 7th gen, games like the Wolfenstein or, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare or whatever. But they only collect these. And I have other friends that don't have any of these retro games, but they do have a pretty good sized collection of PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 games, or original Xbox 360 games, which are wonderful to collect for right now because they're so damn cheap. So today's a wonderful time to be a collector. Some games are getting ridiculously expensive and overpriced, and other ones are actually quite affordable. So it's still, overall, gaming has never been cheaper, and in my opinion, I think collecting has really never been easier or cheaper with the advent of the internet. You can find anything. You can locate anything. You couldn't do that in the early 2000s. It was very tough. And I had to go, drive to San Francisco or somewhere up on Melrose in LA to a rare used gaming store before they became popular, and I would invest a day in on these treks to try to find my favorite art books or CDs or old movies or games or movie posters or whatever. I got a huge collection of movie posters. Like I said, I've got close to 5,000 movies alone. And the movies are very big to me. I've been collecting TV and movies for many years, and I said, I can't throw these out. I have recently went through my garage. My wife said, you got to get rid of some of these VHS tapes. I did throw out about 3 big boxes of tapes of old TV shows I had taped that I either have on DVD now or really didn't need. I hated to even throw those out. I'm not a pack rat, but because they had so many fond memories. But there's something about collecting. I can't just throw them away. It's like throwing my life away or memories away. So they're almost like photo albums of looking back fondly at good times with old friends and family. That's what I like about collecting. My reasons and my criteria is to do it for posterity. Now that I'm getting older and I've had some health issues, you realize how short life is, and you realize that collecting is a big part of your life, to preserve something and to keep something alive that either at one time or presently means the world to you. That's what collecting means to me. Let me know in the comments down below what it means to you. Thanks guys for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. And enjoy your games and enjoy your movies. That's what life's all about. Enjoying and savoring our memories and the things that we look forward to in the future. So enjoy your games, enjoy your films, and enjoy life.